Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, coming at you with another movie review. And this time I'll be doing the 2019 version of Pet Sematary. Notice how I said version, not remake. Yeah, a lot of people want to call it a remake. I think it's even been labeled as a remake. But with movies like It and Pet Sematary, they're not, like, this isn't a remake of the 1989 film. It's just a newer adaptation. So, I mean, I'll probably put it under my remake playlist, but it's not really a remake. Now, this movie, Pet Sematary, along with It, has been in like development hell for the better part of a decade, maybe more than a decade. I know Guillermo del Toro was attached to do both. I know for a while George Clooney was supposed to play Louis Creed. Maybe that was just a rumor. I don't know, but it was on the internet for a while. But then, with the huge success of It back in 2017, I think it helped get the ball rolling on this. And Pet Sematary came out this past April, and it just came out on DVD and Blu-ray within the last couple of weeks. Now, as far as how the film did, the reception was mixed. It was very divided, especially for the second half. It made $112 million against a $21 million budget, so it made money. Now, the biggest thing for me when this was being made, the thing that sealed the deal was the casting of John Lithgow as Judd. I'm a big John Lithgow fan. He's one of my favorite actors. And when he plays darker roles, I mean, Judd's not a bad guy, but I really thought he would, because Fred Gwynne is Judd Crandall, but I figured when I found out John Lithgow got the role, I was really excited. That's really what sold it for me, that alone. My girlfriend and I were supposed to see it in theaters. We were actually supposed to go with my brother and his fiance, but we never went. I'm not holding it up because I didn't buy it. The lovely girlfriend actually got it from Redbox, and we watched it tonight. So, talking for 3 minutes. I haven't even gotten to it. I can honestly say I liked this movie. I did. It has its problems, as any movie does, but because also following it, it was really loyal to the book, as far as I know. I haven't read the book. I got about halfway through Pet Sematary when I was in 8th grade, but I lost the bookmark or something and just got frustrated and didn't have the patience to find my spot. So I never finished it, but I know a lot of what's in there. And for the most part, this movie is very much like the 89 film and what's in the book. From what I remember, that was a long time ago that I read it. I saw the original film not too long ago. I grew up with the original Pet Sematary. And, the original is a classic. It is kind of nostalgic. I would honestly say this is potentially, well, not potentially, it already came out, but possibly, it's definitely darker. I'll give it that. It's definitely darker. Across the board, far better acted. I mean, yeah, Fred Gwynne is really the only, actor in that movie that I think did a good job. I don't really want to compare the two, but yeah, Fred Gwynne was the guy that played Pascal was alright. I think everybody did a good job in this movie. Jason Clarke plays Louis Creed. He's been in a lot of stuff in the 2000 teens. I really liked him in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I liked him in Lawless with Tom Hardy. He was great in this. The woman that played Rachel was much better than Lieutenant Yar from the original. The daughter, the girl that played Ellie, did a very good job. I usually don't say that about kid actors, but I never liked Ellie from the original. She's just too annoying. And of course, John Lithgow as Judd. He was very good, which I figured he would be. He's a phenomenal actor. This movie does follow a lot of the same beats. A lot of stuff is pretty much the same. They do add some stuff, like when they first get to the house. There's like some kids, they're carrying like a dead dog on like a makeshift way to carry it. The one in the back has drums. They're all wearing like these paper mache animal masks, which kind of looks creepy. Certain shots looked creepy. They don't meet Judd the same way. Judd is actually comes off as kind of a creeper in the beginning. Yeah. I'm kind of rambling because I'm like half asleep. I actually dozed off for a while after I watched it. But, this movie was much darker. It handled some, there are some thematic elements I thought was handled better in this one. For example, Ellie's asking about death. Rachel has because they go into Zelda, her sister with spinal meningitis. She doesn't really know how to cope or handle or explain death. She believes in heaven, and Jason Clarke doesn't. And I thought that was interesting to have that dynamic where this whole movie about bringing the dead back to life, one parent believes in heaven and hell, and the other one thinks, pretty much when you're dead, which is what I believe in. But, so, yeah, I'm kind of wheezing. Ran out of my asthma meds, so wheezing. But yeah, it really doesn't, nothing really changes up until the third act. And I know this movie just came out, like, it literally hit theaters, like, 3 months ago. So, I'm going to say spoiler warning, but I did enjoy this movie. I liked it more than it. I definitely did. I like it as much as the original because, you get to a certain point, it's radically different. I would say this movie was handled better. It was darker. It was moodier. So, and I definitely recommend it. It's just a good horror movie. Parts of it feel like a run-of-the-mill remake or newer adaptation. It's take 2013's Carrie, but make it well done. That's basically what this is. So yeah, from here on out is spoilers, but I can say I liked the movie. So, yeah, instead of Gage being the one that gets hit by the truck in the road, it's actually Ellie. Which is not, it's Gage in the book and the original film. So I have to give this film props for daring to do something that different. However, it's kind of weird though, because now all these newer, well, 2 so far, but these newer Stephen King adaptations are supposed to be like the most loyal faithful adaptations. Kind of like what Francis Ford Coppola was doing with the classic monster novels in the early 90s, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. But so it's just kind of weird that they took a huge plot element, like which child dies, and changing it from one to the other. But I thought it worked. I did. I would have rather seen Gage, just because that's how the source material is. But I thought they handled the change very well, and it made the very ending, the final shot, even scarier. Like, I thought that final shot was actually really freaky. Um, I will say, and I always do this. I always say spoilers, and then there's stuff I could have said before that. I felt this. I did feel that this movie was a tad bit rushed. I mean, it is like 101 minutes. Not terribly long, but it didn't feel like that amount of time went by. Because it's just the first film seems more spread out. This one feels like they're cramming everything in the first half. Um, Pascal was very underplayed in this one. I feel like they used him for what they needed him for. He kind of got a little gratuitous in the original, the Pascal character. I thought this version of Pascal was actually creepier and really helped set the mood more. Looked more realistic. I don't have a problem with them changing the race. I probably didn't have to say anything. I'm sure some people had a problem with it. I know I'm getting stuffy. I know that's kind of a big issue in Hollywood now, changing races or genders. I thought the guy that played Pascal did a good job. You know, he's in it very little, but it's definitely uh, a lot moodier. And I'm going to keep saying moodier because that's what this movie is. It has a very dark, very bleak, depressing tone. And also, you know, I thought they handled the death of Ellie very well in this one. You know, it definitely added some humanity to it. It didn't feel it made the first one look more like a plot device. Whereas this one, you know, it's not just, oh, crash, funeral, half the family leaves, he decides to, you know, bury him in the pet cemetery. With this one, you know, after the funeral, it shows them trying to cope. This whole movie is dealing with death. Um, the Zelda stuff, I felt there was a bit too much of it. You know, Rachel's haunted by these visions of Zelda. I thought after a while, it kind of, you know, like the first film, they had like those couple scenes, and that was enough. But I thought the Zelda scenes were well done. I will say that the biggest disappointment that I have with this movie, it doesn't kill the movie by any means. Hate getting stuffy during videos. Was the thing that sealed the deal for me, which was finding out John Lithgow was in the movie, was how underused he was in this. You know, I mean, it takes a while for him to come in. He's only there when he needs to be. He's still a well done character. It's just his screen time is significantly lower. His death scene was quite brutal. Still had the Achilles tendon, which I think was CGI. And I saw Brad Jones's midnight screening review for this. And I agree that Church in this one is definitely more of like a zombie cat. It's definitely more of a sinister. Stuttering, because I'm tired. It really made Church in the first film just look like a spooky horror movie cat, just like a gray cat with glowing eyes. This cat was a menace, and yeah, that ending, it was way different, but it's okay to be different as long as it's well done. This one, okay. Pretty much what happens is, I've already said spoilers. At first, because I know how the book ends, it ends just like it does in the original film. So Ellie, who's now, the undead, kills Rachel, drags her. You get a quick glimpse of her dragging Rachel. She's going to the cemetery. And then, Lewis wakes up, and, there's this great scene in the actual pet cemetery, not the Indian burial ground, where he's trying to kill Ellie. He's strangling her, and he says, I thought we could be a family, but we can't. And there's these creepy, almost like, I don't really want to compare it to Jacob's Ladder, because that is a far superior film. But, it's like they have like this speed up effect, so when he's on top of her, strangling her, she's thrashing really fast, and then she stops. She has her sweet voice back. Is because he's about to stab her with a shovel. But she says, "We can, Daddy," as if, we can be a family. And this pole or something goes right through him. So Rachel's already turned. They drag him to the cemetery. And the final shot I thought was so haunting. Because when Lewis is first looking for Ellie, he takes Gage. He locks him in the family car. And then we see Gage sitting in the car. And, out of focus in the background, we see all three of them. Lewis, Rachel, and Ellie. All turned. Now undead. Just walking up to the car, looking at through the glass. Then you just hear the unlock chime. End credits. And I was like, that is eerie. That's really kind of creepy. But I really did enjoy this movie. I see why it would how it would separate people, which some people disliked it for slow pacing and reliance on jump scares. I didn't really see a lot of jump scares. It wasn't like It by any means. I mean, It takes the fucking cake for a fucking jump scares. But I didn't really think it was that slow. I mean, I thought the original was slower. This one felt faster paced. But I don't think it had any, or it had some, not too many jump scares. But it was definitely moodier. It was much darker. It was the acting, with the exception of Fred Gwynne. Maybe it's just because I love John Lithgow, but Fred Gwynne was the only actor in the original that I liked. This one was very well acted. The effects, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of effects, but when they're there, they're decent. The changes I thought were very ballsy, but it went for it, and they followed through with it, and I thought it had an interesting and creepy outcome. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed this movie. It was a lot better than I thought. Initially, coming off the high of seeing It and what they did with I have my problems with It, but I did think that was well done. And then, finding out Pet Sematary is probably going to get the same treatment, I was like, oh, super loyal to the book. It's going to be dark, it's going to be fucked up. Because one thing in the book that I wondered how they do it in film is in the book is when Gage is channeling Judd's wife's voice and saying the horrible things that happens in that part of the book. They kind of go there, not quite. It hints towards it. I thought it was well done. John Lithgow was my favorite part of this movie. I wish he was in it more. That's really my main complaint, was that John Lithgow just wasn't in it enough. And it did kind of feel like they're cramming all the faithful stuff into that first half, or first two acts, so they can do their original stuff. But yeah, I thought the ending was super creepy, and I really enjoyed this movie. So anyway, I gotta go blow my nose and get some sleep. Maybe I'll do one more review. I don't know, but anyway, thank you for watching.